Welcome to the podcast on jasonsolomons.com. I'm Jason Solomons. On this show, I meet up with Iris Apfel, the 93-year-old who's become the newest star of the fashion world. With her trademark huge glasses, her layers of jewellery and flamboyant clothes, Iris has become an inspiration, and she's now the subject of a new documentary, Iris. I had an audience with the regal Iris last week, discussing everything from her inspirations, her memories of Harlem, to how she came to work with the great documentarian Albert Maysles, the perils of aging and the way to do it while staying young. As with everything Iris does, she began with a surprise. I'd told her I'd written a book on Woody Allen, out September the 10th, of course, don't forget, and told her she and he should get together as great New York icons. She, of course, floored me by saying she'd already been in a Woody Allen movie. Everybody has. Iris was part of the cast of Celebrity, and this seemed like a very good place to start our interview. So you were in a Woody Allen movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they discovered me in an elevator in ABC Carpet Company.
Woody did?
No, it was very strange. I was at a trade show, and they were having... they offered this program to take you to a bunch of the new retail outlets. It was an interior design thing. And these were people I had all these names on the list I wanted to go to. I had never gotten a chance, so I said, okay, I'll do the bus trip. And one of them was ABC Carpet. It was the last trip downtown before going uptown. And they were collecting everybody, and I don't know, I guess I was a bit late. And I got into the elevator, and I was in such a rush to get out. Somebody was staring at me and staring at me. I was so uncomfortable. And I ran out, and this person ran after me. And I thought, oh, my God, this is some kind of a nut. And they wanted to know, they said, would I like to be in a Woody Allen film? And I thought, now, really are crazy. What are they talking about? Anyway... they subsequently called me, and it sounded like fun, so I said, okay. And then it seemed like, I mean, they sent a car for me and everything. It seemed like the cure for unemployment. He gets 20,000 more people than he needs. And everybody gets fed. And they come and they get their hair done and the manicures and everything. It was like lunacy.
Did you meet him?
Yeah, I met him, but I mean, I don't know him well. I just met him. And then he was in one of the scenes, or I don't know he was in the scene, or he was directing a scene with Donald Trump.
Yes. Because it's a film about celebrity and about New York, and I guess they saw you and you.
Well, they didn't know who I was at that point. I wasn't a celebrity then.
Right. Well, now you see, but it maybe it pushed you forward and gave you some...
No, I don't know. Maybe they liked what I was wearing or something. I don't know, something.
How long has that been happening, that people stop you in the street and just say, well, I love your style?
Oh, for a long time.
And that was that the idea that people would see you, or is it just the way that you were expressing yourself?
I have no idea. You have to ask the people.
Because, it's always been this way? How long have you been dressing in the Iris way?
Since I was in swaddling clothes.
I bet they were cool too, your swaddling clothes.
Absolutely. I'm a cool cat.
The fact that you lived in New York for so many years, do you think that has the influence on your style?
Everything has influence on everything. Nothing just happens out of the blue.
Who was your biggest influence?
My mother, I suppose. But she didn't have... I mean, she was extremely stylish, extremely chic, but nothing the way I dressed. She was much more elegant and ladylike, more in the mold of the Duchess of Windsor, who was the reigning queen at that point, in the 30s and 40s.
Mm-hmm. And did you take your style? Because when people are younger, they take them from popular culture, or they take them from movie stars.
No, I don't take anything from anybody. I just do whatever I like. I get up and throw on some jeans or tights and a big shirt, and I jump on my broom and I'm off.
The fact that you have now, I don't know, because of the Woody Allen thing, but to me,
the Woody Allen was a very small part.
Sure, but to me that it's a rite of passage for any New Yorker to kind of be part of that legacy. So to me, you seem like a quintessential New Yorker.
Everything influences me. I'm inspired by everything, so I don't get one flash of an inspiration.
And that continues day to day?
Oh, yes.
What do you find in the world? I mean, looking at that documentary, it seems to me there's a sort of almost a history of the 20th century in that movie.
Well, that's nice of you to say.
Did you get a sense of living through that at the time? Is it only something you can do when you look back and sort of say, "Wow, I went through all these presidents. I went through all this."
No, I try to live for the moment. I try not to look back too much. Doesn't pay.
Mm-hmm. Well, in the documentary, it kind of works. How was work? Tell me about working with Albert Maysles. Did you knew him before?
No, never met him. Never. I didn't know too much about him. I knew about Grey Gardens.
You'd seen that?
Oh, a long time ago, but I don't really remember it too carefully. And it was quite a... Well, I told about it last night. We had a Q&A after the... one of the producers, well, she's now a producer, she wasn't then, but a friend of mine, I hadn't seen her in a while, and ran into her, and what are you doing lately, and blah, blah. And I told her I was just doing that thing for the University of Texas at Austin. She was very intrigued with the project, and she knew Albert, and she mentioned it to him, and he got very excited. And he rang me up, and he said he wanted to do a documentary about me, and I said, thank you very much, but no thank you. Why, said he. I said, well, I'm not a household word. People don't know me. I mean, a lot of people know me, but the world doesn't know me. I haven't got an ego problem, and I have nothing to sell, so I don't want to waste your time or mine. And he called again, and I said no. And then I told some friends about it. One of them was Linda Fargo. You know who she is.
I don't know Linda Fargo, unfortunately.
Well, Linda Fargo is a big wheel at Brooknoff Goodman in New York, which is the mega center of, I think, American fashion and world fashion. And she got very upset with me. And she said, how dare you refuse him? Do you know who he is? Do you know that the average person would absolutely drop just to have him take a still photograph, and he wants to do a documentary, and you have the gall to say no? Who the hell do you think you are? Anyway, I said, well, it's too late. I made a mistake. Forget it. And luckily, a couple days later, he called me back, and he said, it's been bothering me, and I really want to do this, and at least come up to the studio in Harlem and meet the crew and see what you think. So I went up, and I met the crew, and we all fell in love immediately. And I said I'd do it, and after I said that, I researched some of his films, and they were all rather gritty.
Yeah.
A bit on the socially conscious side. And I said, what the hell am I doing here? And he had no plan for the movie, no script, no outline, no nothing. He just liked to take take pictures as he feels them. He's sort of visceral in that way. And then editors put them together. So I had no idea what to expect, and I really did it on blind faith. But they promised they wouldn't be obtrusive, and they were very nice. And we worked over a long period, but with great periods of not seeing one another. I mean, maybe 8 or 9 months we didn't see one another. Albert was sick. He was in the hospital a few times. He had to go all over the world to get awards. I broke my hip. I worked for Home Shopping in the States, and I'd have maybe 6 times a year I'd have to go and do that. And I did some work for Swarovski, and they sent me on some very exciting trips to South America, to Brazil, to Europe. And so we managed to get together in between. While we worked over a long period, we didn't work a lot, if you know what I mean.
How did you feel about the camera? I mean, it's kind of it's something that's happened to you late in life, that either the still camera and the modeling, and now the moving camera.
I don't know. All I can tell you was the first time I went on, usually they give everybody who is not a professional, it comes to Home Shopping, and indoctrination and everything else, and I didn't have time because of my broken hip and whatnot. I couldn't be on for the inaugural program. I had to do it from my hospital bed, which was rather trying. And so I just went on. And the producer said, you must have been on TV many, many times before. And I said, no, and he didn't believe me. It's just a thing. Nothing to get excited about.
Some people get conscious in front of it and they perform for the camera,
no.
but you don't. I didn't feel that at all with you.
No, everybody that knows me says, oh my God, it was so natural. And that's how I am.
Whether it's there or not, the camera for you,
Right?
Yeah. The film. I mean, I adored the film. And some of it says Albert's studio is in Harlem. I didn't know that. But the bits where you go to Harlem and talk about having been there a lot in the 50s, that must be fascinating for you, because that's perhaps one of the most changing areas of.
Oh, I didn't go in the 50s. I went in the 30s when I was a kid.
Right.
I was fascinated. I don't know if you knew who Father Divine was, but he was a very controversial figure in Harlem. And he had, he had some, how shall I say, some very wealthy people who backed him. And he did a lot for a lot of the abused and downtrodden black women. He would take them in and sort of change their life, give them a place to live, and serve meal. In those days, I mean, it was really cheap even then. You could have dinner for a quarter, which was 25 cents, and if you wanted dessert, it was either 5 or 10 cents extra. We always had Father Divine help at home, and we had one lady for many, many years, and it seems to me her object in life was to convert my grandmother.
To what?
To Father Divine.
Right. From old Jewish lady to Father Divine.
So it didn't really work, but it kind of touched me. And I was on when I was in high school, I was one of the editors of the magazine, and there was a cuckoo young guy, so he and I used to go to Harlem together all the time. And anyway, I was a jazz aficionado since I was a kid, and there wasn't anything ever done about it. And I used to go to listen to I used to go to they call rent parties. People couldn't pay their rent, and so they would open their apartments, have some good jazz musicians come.
Who did you see?
Oh, God, everybody. Anyway, it was great. I used to go, and I spent time in Harlem, and I used to I didn't know why, I didn't know about style then, but I used to love to see how the people looked, because they looked different, and they all looked wonderful, and I especially liked Sundays when the older women went to church, and they were all dressed up in their their employer's finery. Women used to give them beautiful hats and furs and whatnot, and they strutted about, and they looked absolutely wonderful.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Congratulations on the movie as well, because now you're a movie star. It's another thing.
Oh, I'm going from a geriatric starlet, I guess, to I'd rather be a starlet. It buys me a few more years.
Well, sure, if by me you're a starlet.
Aren't you sweet? Thank you.
You've been listening to jasonsolomons.com. We'll see you again soon.